React Native developers. Beyond this beautiful transition, we're going to look at all the practical details we need to consider to implement it. So let's get to work. Guys, I hope you are well. William here, recording from beautiful Zurich, Switzerland. Since the App.js conference, this was by far the most requested tutorial. At the App.js conference, I just needed to have a fancy demo working. But in this tutorial, we're going to look at all the practical details we need to consider to make such an example work in the real world. So how we do this in React Native? First, we need to start with a dark mode that works very well without any transitions. From there, we take a snapshot of the current view and overlay it as an image on top of the real view. In the background, we render the dark mode and take a snapshot of it. Once we have both snapshots, we can do any transition we would like between the two images. And once the transition is over, we can remove these overlays. So a simple way to think about this animation is to have the following state: the color scheme name, overlay number 1, overlay number 2, and we transition between these two overlays. But we also need to add an active Boolean, so we don't trigger the transition when it's already running. And for good measure, we will transition the status bar only when the animation is done. There are 6 steps we need to follow. Step 0, we get from the gesture handler the position where we need to transition the circle and mark the transition as active. Step 1, we take the snapshot of the current view. Step 2, we need to make sure that the overlay has been rendered and switch to dark mode. Here, because the rendering is done synchronously on the JavaScript thread, it doesn't matter how long the render is going to take, because we're only going to get back into the toggle function when the rendering is done. We just need to release to the event loop so that it can trigger the render. So potentially, I found that a value of 1 millisecond doesn't work. 2 milliseconds seems to work. Maybe for good measure, we can put something like 10 milliseconds. Step 3, we take the snapshot of the dark mode. Step 4, we transition between the two overlays. And step 5, once we are done, we can mark the transition as inactive and remove all the overlays. But what do you guys think? Can it be done in React Native? Let's have a look. We are into VS Code here, and I have a boilerplate project which you can download from the video description in case you want to code along. And so we had like 6 steps, but even before getting started, what we need is an app which has a dark mode, which we can switch first, right, from one mode to the other. That's like the minimum requirement, which we have, which I've built quickly using Restyle. I hadn't used the Restyle in a while. I've always liked the library, and I have to say I was quite impressed by the updates. So the library API has changed a bit since last time I used it, and I like it. I mean, there are no other ways to say it. I think this library makes a lot of sense, and I'm really happy. I mean, I think the developers, like the updates are really, really good. So I think the developers who are working on it should be proud. So really enjoying this library. And yeah, so let's go through our 6 steps. And I think that the first step, the step 0, is going to be to, so if we go here, remove this pressable and use the gesture handler, because we're going to use the gesture handler so we get the position of the finger so we know where to start the circle transition. Since this is done on the JavaScript thread, I think there might be another way to do it than to use the gesture handler. But also, I mean, I really love gesture handler and how they make such things like so easy that that's what we're going to use. Yeah, so let's do it. And this would become gesture detector. And we're going to pass a pan gesture. Oops. So yeah, So it's going to be a gesture dot pan. Let me import it. We're going to run it on the, I mean, here we could either, so here I'm going to ask the gesture to run on the JavaScript thread, which makes a lot of sense. I love this option. Of course, we could do it the other way around, where on active, we call toggle from the JavaScript thread. So using reanimated, I think it's much simpler this way. This is really why I love, I mean, gesture handler version 2.0 is really incredible. So on begin, we're going to invoke the toggle function. But now, I mean, and I can check if it works. It does. But now, of course, I get the event and I can pass absolute X and absolute Y, which we can add to. So if I go to the color scheme context, we have the toggle function here. So we have these new values we can get back. Okay. And so I can set it as a value in the circle, but we are not going to be able to see anything yet. So one thing I might do first is really to set the overlay. So what we're going to do, so I can do, so we're not going to switch the color scheme yet. And we're going to take a snapshot of the current mode. So this is our view. This is where we're going to overlay stuff. This is why I have a parent. And what we're going to do, so add a ref to it, so we can take snapshots from it. So use a ref. This looks good. I don't think I even need this. And we need to pass it to the context. And I'm going to add it to the context here. So we have ref. This looks good. So now, here we have the ref. That allows us to take a snapshot. So we have overlay 1. And we have make image from view from React Native Skia. That looks good. And then we can pass the overlay to the dispatch. So we need to add overlay to the data of the context. So it can be overlay 1, can be an image or null, just for good measure, because we know that there is going to be a second overlay. I can add it now, which we can get back here. So overlay 1, overlay 2, I need to add it to the default. So we're going to add a lot of these states, right? So it's always the same dance we're going to need to do. So I need to add it here, overlay 1, overlay 2. And we get it back here. And we need to pass it here as well to the context. Okay. And now what I can do is to overlay it on top of the regular view. So I'm going to create a Canva. I'm going to use an absolute fill to overlay it. And we're going to use the image component. So the image is overlay 1. So X, Y, we took the snapshot here, and I can add overlay 2 to be null. So we know that we have 2 overlay. I just added the overlay 1, overlay 2 to the state. We have it here. And here I overlay the Canva and try to display the image. So if this works, now if I press, so I think, let me reload. Something is, yeah, of course. So this here I need to, I mean, one thing I can do here is that if the overlay is a variable, I show the canvas, so which means that nothing will be touchable anymore. So here I have no overlay, and I press the button, and now we have the overlay. I could even, I guess, do fill color cyan, just to, so we can see it. Here it is, okay. But so what I'm gonna do instead is we display the overlay. We want to use pointer event none, so it doesn't intercept any touches. And so if we go back here, we have our first overlay. We need to let the, so we need to wait to let the event loop do the React rendering. I know that 2 works, maybe let's put 10. If we put 16, it means we wait 1 frame, which is not what we are trying to do here. So let's put 10 milliseconds. And now we can render to, why am I getting an error here? Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair, which we don't need here. So now we switch to the new color scheme. And we need again to release for the new color scheme to render, and then we can take overlay 2. We take overlay 2 and we pass it here. And let me update here. So now we are not, I can display overlay 2, and since we're keeping the overlays, now what I expect to happen is to just switch to dark mode. But of course, let's have a look. Yeah, so I'm just here switching from one mode to the other. But of course, here now I cannot close the menu, or I am closing it, but we cannot see it because we just see the overlay. And I mean, maybe one thing I could do is, no, but I mean, let's do the transition now, right? So we're gonna have, we need 2 animation values. So one for the transition, which I'm gonna create here. Just looking at the camera, see if it's not crashing. That's good. And then we're gonna need a circle animation value, which contains the information about the transition circle, and it's gonna be X, Y, and radius, which is gonna be the maximum radius. So this looks good. Let's add it to the context. So lots of states we need to add to the context, but that's okay. I think that's okay. Which I need to add here. So we have transition, and circle is X number, Y number, radius. Now we have it here. Here we can store the circle information. So circle.value, oops, is, so X, Y, and radius. What's the maximum radius? So I have, let me move this here. This is fun. So I have all the corners, right? The 4 corners of the screen. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna take the max of the distance of each corner with the XY value. So we take the max of, so corners we map, yeah, I mean, here Copilot knows what I'm trying to do. We map the distance. So that gives us the maximum radius. When we display the overlay, we can start the animation. So we're gonna and I'm going to decide the transition, I think. So 650, 500 is, I think, is good. We can do 650. We can do 450. Right? 450 would be considered, I guess, fast. 650, a bit. We go to 1. We need to set it to 0 first. Because then if we, press many times. And so I think this looks good. Let me update this. And we need to transition to use the animation value here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use a circle. So the center, we get it from the circle animation value, and we're going to interpolate the R value based on the transition. The image, so we use it to within the circle, so this becomes an image shader. Parameters are the same, but we need to add fit equals cover. I'm not sure, it's probably a bug on our side that the default here property doesn't match image. I'll look into it. I have a note to look into it if something here we can refine on the Skia side. But let's do the R value. So R is a use derived value based on the transition. So we do a mix of transition value. We go from 0 to the maximum radius. So let's have a look. Yes. And yeah, so now we have like a glitch on when I press the second time, but I think I know exactly why, but this is cool. We're getting there. I think slowly we're getting there. So now what I need to do is to wait for the duration amount. So when the animation is done, I remove the overlays. Maybe let me reload. Oh, and one thing also. Now I want to display the circle only when the overlay is not null. Of course. So let me reload. Okay. No. I forgot to add a wait. So it was removing the overlay while the animation was running. Let me see. Yes. Okay. So this works pretty nice. Now, speaking of practical details, so if I press, you see, so here I'm tapping like crazy on it. It's, I think the result is suboptimal. So this is when we're going to add the active property to the state. So we're going to add active Boolean. Default value is false. So let's see. Yes, here we set it. We're going to, before everything, we're going to set it to true. So here, because we have an await. So I think what I want to do here is to add no overlay, no nothing, but we mark it as active. Then it's always active till the end. Active, active, not active. Then I can return it part of the context of the context consumer, which we get here, right? Yeah. And I can, so we get it here also. We pass it here. It's always, when we add these states, it's always the same dance, but hopefully it's not too confusing. We are just adding, there is a lot of states because this is a somewhat delicate transition to do. And now we only trigger it if it's not active. So let's have a look. No, so let me maybe reload. Okay, and now I press like crazy, I'm pressing like crazy, I'm pressing like crazy, but it's working pretty nice. So one last bonus, if the camera crashes, I'm not gonna include it in the video, but hopefully we have time. So I want the last steps, but here it's a matter of taste. We can add the status bar to stay the same color during the transition and only switch at the end. But here you decide, I think, the user, you know the drill, we add these states and you decide, I think, the user experience you want to build. But what we can do is we're gonna add the status bar color scheme in the state. So we can control also is, status bar. Yeah, I guess I can call it status bar style. So default value would be the opposite of this. So equals light, then it's dark. And if not, it's light. Yeah, I think that looks good. So let's add some values. So status bar style would be, I guess we can get it here. No, I don't like it. Maybe if I can, let me move. So status bar style is going to be the opposite of color scheme. So it's going to be new color scheme. I think I prefer to do it this way. It's going to be new color scheme every time. And then when it's done, but here color scheme has changed. So, let's try this. So here I want to put color scheme. Let's see if this works. And we get it here. We can try if this works, and here we can use status bar style. So it doesn't change at the same time than color scheme. I'm not sure if this is gonna work. Let's see. So the black will, yeah, okay, that works. Yeah. But here you decide what you guys want, I think. But I like it this way. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this example, a really fun user experience, but lots of details we need to consider in order to make it really practical. And I think the last thing where I am not completely clear about is how much time we need to wait to make sure, and maybe we shouldn't wait, but we should have like a way to know if the React has rendered. And here I put a random 10 milliseconds wait, but this is the part where I think maybe we could find a way to make sure that the event loop has triggered the React render to make the example rock solid. But let me know what you guys think. I am looking forward to talk to you soon, and until next time, happy hacking.